Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome to Just Stop It. We're glad to have you aboard tonight, and I'm your host, the Grand Queen, coming at you tonight at the Just Stop It show. And we've got a good one for you tonight on this last Sunday of February. Oh my goodness, already the last Sunday in February, moving up into March. Oh my goodness gracious, March already, 2024. And we've got a hot spot of the show tonight. Our our co-host, our opulent Shannon Grace Chappelle in the house tonight.
Hey,
Hey,
hey, how are you?
absolutely great and dandy. We
Wonderful.
also have, glad to see you.
Glad to see you too.
Absolutely glad to be seen. Hi. Also, we have our Trey Wiz, our media producer in the house
Hey
tonight,
y'all.
coming at
Hey,
you. Hey,
Hey,
Trey.
hi,
what's
Clever.
up? What's
How
up?
are you?
All
What's
right.
up, y'all?
We're all here together tonight. How
Mm,
is it going? How's your Sunday been?
Um,
good.
pr- decent. I can't really
Decent?
complain. Yeah, it's been all right.
Interestingly
I'm
enough,
off.
exactly. Oh,
Yeah,
good,
Yeah.
I've
good,
been off for
good
today.
day.
Yeah. What
That's
about
great.
Oh,
yourself?
cool.
Listen, it's been odd, strangely enough, but it's okay.
Mm,
It's a new day. It's a
Yeah.
yeah.
new day. This is how sometimes the day is wired as we are wired. But
Mm,
thank God, it's a new one. And again, we're at the last Sunday. And before we move on, just want to give a little quick reminder. We are not a medical what? A medical advisory. We're not a
Hmm.
medical advisory board. We do not issue medical advice. Please see the medical team for anything pertaining to your mental health, anything pertaining to your wellness.
Hmm.
We share general and pertinent information with you to engage, to help you on your mental health journey and more. So please be aware we're not a medical advice team. We thank you for tuning in tonight. For those of you who are listening and watching tonight, we love you much. We love you like no other, as God does. We got some shout outs. It's February birthdays. It's the February birthday month for all the birthday babies, the February babies. Our Trey
Hmm.
Wiz,
Thank you.
tonight, this is his birthday month, week before, last week rather,
Last Tuesday. Yeah,
last
last Tuesday,
Tuesday,
the 20th.
and the 20th. And
Hmm.
then we've got, oh my God, we got so many other birthdays in February. For those of you who didn't catch it last week, we've been helping you to celebrate your birthday. Please, share with us. If you want us to give you a shout out, we would love to give you a shout out and just congratulate you that you have made another new year and another new day in your birthday journey, your mental health journey. So, also give a shout out to Joe, my oldest son, and Ariel, my youngest daughter. This is their birthday month. Today, as a matter of fact, is Queen Aries' birthday.
Happy birthday to
Today,
Oh,
you.
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
absolutely.
That's what's
Yes,
up.
Ari, this is
Oh,
her
February.
birthday. She's the
Pisces.
she's the one who started this journey
Yeah.
from the very beginning. So we just love her. She's still putting it down, also advocating for good mental health. So yeah, as Shannon
Oh,
said, I was there.
yeah.
For the fordham and things, and it was very very interesting, their birth. And I tell you, hers was just amazing. She just came just like
Oh,
water, just light and airy,
yeah.
just like she is, simple but not basic.
I knew you was
Yeah.
going. I knew you was gonna slide that one
She's
in there.
ready. She's ready.
That's okay.
Yes,
That is all right.
yes. Every child is different, thank God. And every
Yeah.
birth is different. And it's like that's how life is with us. We are birthed into so many different places and replanted into so many different things.
Hmm.
And however, this is what makes us the great people that we are. And so yeah, so here we are tonight. And accountability, we still putting it down, still out here advocating for good mental
We
health
are. We are.
support.
Yeah.
And tonight we're talking about Just want to pop this scripture in there from Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 28-29. I'll give them rich gardens, lavish in vegetables, no more living half starved, no longer taunted by outsiders.
Mm.
Um, that right there, of course, is talking about how people are suffering from hunger, possibly taunted by society, the mindset and the behaviors and of others. We know the spiel. We know how the government be acting. We know how our local politicians are. Not to say it's not everybody. So we don't want to put all the eggs in the same basket, because we have so many
True.
different people who really are at their best to help. The thing is to keep bringing awareness to how to help and bringing awareness to the issue. So tonight we're talking about the luxury of hunger. Hungry children in this here America, not just the world over. Hungry children and the services, support services for children who experience hunger, and what's
Mm-hmm.
attached to those issues. Now, can you imagine? I ever thought that I'm like, and when you see, I see schools and I see so many different restaurants throwing away food,
Yes.
and
Very
it's
true.
just in my mind, like, why do we even have the idea of hungry children? Why do we even have hungry children? And we see food being, thrown out every day on a day-to-day basis. Nonetheless, it's what's going on inside the home, because some children's their only source of meals is at school, possibly, or daycare centers, possibly, or pantries, possibly. Those are some of the support services.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, we want to think in terms of what are the variables to why children are hungry. Children of all ages are hungry on a day-to-day basis. So now we've got, tonight, what are the problems outside of the overall sources, the overall issue of hunger at home, hunger because of economical aspects, food insecurities. Why are children actually hungry in this America? Now, we ain't talking about the world over. We have an idea the world over, but in America, where this country is supposedly to be one of the richest countries, why do we even have to even think about hungry children? That part just stayed in my mind. Why do we even have to think about why children are hungry?
Mm.
God, it's such a big
Where's that
question.
coming from? Why are children only able to, why is it some of their main sources, their main meals are from school? What is the economic impact? Poverty technically, is there such a thing as poverty? Are we talk. I've heard this week, I had this question in my mind: is there really such a thing as rich and poor? Because if so many countries are wanting to come to this America, technically, are we really poor? Is there any such thing as poverty in this country, or is it just based upon how people manage their lives, which is tied into hunger? Why do we have hungry children?
Oh gosh, I don't even know really where to begin with that
Right.
question. Because I think um, wealth and social class are two different things to me. Um, so, there's different situations in the home sometimes. Um, if you are receiving some type of assistance, whether it be food stamps or whatever else, sometimes that's very hard to get. It's not as easy to get, and it's not as much to sustain your family as people think it is. Um, for sure. If you don't fall under a certain situation, you can't get it. It's like if you're not under a certain income bracket, you can't get it. You know, you have people that are um, they have food available, but they might be doing something with the food to try to get another resource. That's the case
Hmm.
too.
Mhm.
Um, uh, it's so broad. I mean, it's so many different situations where you still have poverty.
Wow.
Some people are it's I'm just trying to pick one thing, but it's kind of hard to do that.
Mhm.
Yes, several
Where
things. Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, several things. The home life. Some I would say too. I knew of a situation where they had the food, but something was going on with mom or going on with dad that the food wasn't prepared or for them or the right type of food. So in order to get a hot meal, they had to go somewhere else to get that hot meal. Um,
Right.
from school, breakfast, lunch, dinner, however it is. But then a lot of people are finding themselves too in a financial situation where you're trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. Like I said, it just
Hmm.
doesn't work.
Right.
Mhm.
It doesn't work. There's Let's say for example, there's 8 of you total in the house, and what you have isn't stretching. You
Right.
know, and those are just examples that those are not all the reasons, and it's not all of
Right.
the examples. But it's something that I can say once I look back in my head with people that I've met over the years. That was a situation, and I'll go over that one more time. You
Yeah.
have where you can't get access to food stamps or anything. Sometimes it's not enough. Um, Sometimes people find themselves in situations again where you weren't getting some type of assistance, but you just don't qualify for it because you don't fall under this certain criteria or whatever. So there you go. If To me, if you ask that question, another question that goes along with that, why children are hungry, is why do we still have homelessness in this
Exactly.
country when it should not exist? I'm just going to rear off just a little bit from that. Let's look at that really quick. Why is
Yeah.
there homelessness? There's lack of resources. Shelters are being closed down all the time. People don't have a shelter. People don't
Mhm.
have the food. Again, I know I keep saying it. You don't fall under a certain income bracket. Somebody can make $1 more than what the guidelines say. You're getting literally nothing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Food banks are crowded or less and less. It's just not enough, and
Very true.
people are getting what they could get. And let's just say this too: we don't have the type of community anymore where you can go to your neighbor and get something to eat.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not happening. I mean, that's what I see so far as some situations that while we have that problem,
Mhm.
Exactly.
it's probably
Exactly.
more. It's probably
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Those are serious attachments.
Mhm.
Guidelines and program guidelines, because that's what
Mhm.
that's a part of. Household composition, household situations,
Mhm. Mhm.
outsourcing, because if you don't have the right outsourcing and format it to the person's situation, because really there's no one size fits all thing.
Very true.
Every
Mhm.
situation is so intricately different, and it should be treated as such. However, when you're dealing with a lot of government, when you're dealing with some of the outsourced programs, it also has to do, attached to that is funding,
Mhm.
budgeting. If certain things aren't
Mhm.
budgeted in, then
Mhm.
that's where the community goes lacking, because it
Mhm.
hasn't been budgeted in. Or if it's been budgeted in, it's been cut. The budget has been cut. They have a
Yeah.
budget, but they're constantly cutting the budget, and that's another problem. And which drives, those are the drivers for poverty. Those are the
Yeah.
serious drivers for poverty, and it's also a driver for poor mental health. Poor mental
Yes.
health, which ties into hunger, malnutrition, food insecurities,
Mhm.
socially, the social, mental, and physical development of children and parents. So, everybody
Mhm.
suffers in that situation. So how do we fix it? How do we help fix it? We can't fix all of it. We can fix some of it. Um,
Mhm.
I have to say, some of our restaurants maybe could do better. I see that with all the stuff, all the food that I see that they've thrown out, I say in my mind that maybe they could set aside some of the food, that the extra food, because every restaurant has a surplus of something. They already know they're gonna have a surplus, because they don't have to buy everything. They have certain programs that they can get into, and that program funds the food for them to operate as a restaurant.
Mhm.
So I'm sure, again, they have an idea on what that surplus is going to be, and they could
Mhm.
contribute it to the community. They can set up a fundraising or an event for people to get that free food, and which is also attached to food sources like pantries and food banks and things like that. But there could be more. There could be more ideas that come along, so people would also feel like, so they won't feel like it's a handout. People have pride
Mhm.
too. They don't want to feel like it's a handout. Sometimes that's also attached to hunger, pride. Well, of course, because their situation, people could be down, and pressed out, and
Mhm.
pressed out of measure in certain situations, and their pride is like, listen, I've had enough. Why should I don't want to beg and ask people for this, that, and the other.
Yes.
So you want to at least have those sources there for them to have a sense of, to keep their sense of dignity as well. Um, and what is also attached to hunger is teen dating, which I didn't even know. Teen dating
Mm.
and violence. Teen dating, first of all, when you think of teen dating, like how old a teenager is dating? How old are you when you're actually a teenager and dating in
Mhm.
this particular society? So like, what do you like, 13, 12? I don't know. 13, 14, dating.
Mhm.
I guess it depends on parenting.
On parent.
For right, for parenting, I didn't date. Well, of course, I'm a boomer. Different
Yeah.
parenting strategies. Um, I didn't date until I was 18.
It was
I was
16 for
well over
me.
18.
Yep.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
So like, that was a whole different, and I was chaperoned.
Mhm.
So like, dating now, that's a whole different
Ooh.
format. So I don't even know, how do teenagers
Yes.
date, and let alone there's dating violence. This is also Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, and we're
Mhm.
talking about accountability and support services for children who experience hunger. Teen dating affects the experience of hunger. It affects the experience of hunger because of trauma. When teens are traumatized and they're dating, and things happen while they're dating, um, how can they be hungry? Somebody's probably saying, how could they be hungry? And they're dating. They could be dating an abuser, and the abuser could be using food as a means of abuse. You know,
Mhm.
the parent, uh, somebody in the family of whoever that person is dating could be
Hey,
using
Kenneth.
food as a, hey Kenneth, as a source to abuse a teenager. So we're talking about the impact on the physical and mental health of children. Teen dating, can you imagine? Because it includes dating violence. It includes exploitation and violence.
Mhm.
So when
Mhm.
somebody is a teenager who's been exploited, and food is used to exploit them, food is
Mhm.
used to be used to, to as a hardship, to make them have hardships. That's unhealthy. First of all, food, it should not be used to exploit anybody,
Mhm.
especially children, because food is one of our what? Basic needs. So
Mhm.
that's a no-go right there. And let alone for food to be withheld from them as a exploitation and as a means to make them do something against their will.
Mhm.
So,
Hmm.
how do we stop that? How do we stop that? How do we stop teen hunger? Because now you're talking about teen hunger, not just children. We're talking about teenagers in specific, and teenagers are going hungry every day. and they're not saying anything because they're not, teenagers not going to tell you they're hungry. They're going to talk
Hmm.
about everything else except hunger until it begins to show out on them, until it begins to affect their mental health, until it begins to affect their physical self, their spiritual self. Then they might say something, or they have to trust you to be able to say something. That's the thing with
Mhm.
teenagers, trust. So how do we help teenagers get through the aspect of teen dating, and how do we help them with accountability and support services so they won't experience hunger, so to be able to get through what it is that they're getting through. I've heard some stories. Some people have shared some stories on the experience, but it had to do with manipulation in what do you call it? Trafficking, when people are
Mhm.
trafficked. I'm just using that situation when people are trafficked, teenagers have been trafficked, and they have experienced hunger in that particular situation. Overall, how do we help our communities become accountable? What's your take on that? You know, how do we help our teenagers like trust the community to be able to, if something like that is happening to them, how do we help them connect? How do
Sean,
we
what do you
reduce
think?
the yeah, how do we help them connect?
Well, that's a
I,
that's a question I need to think on because that's not a question that I really expected to pop up out of nowhere. That's a question I
Mhm.
would like for one of you to answer, and I can think about it for a moment and then come up with a logical answer after that. Because that's not,
Yes,
we can
it's a
go there
lot.
with it as long as y'all do, but I'm gonna go off the energy that y'all give on these answers, and then I'll respond because we can go there, but I would love to hear y'all take while I think about how I want to deliver my answer.
I mean, in
Absolutely.
your
Absolutely.
observation, have you seen it in the community? Have you
No,
seen anything like that in the community? Not at all. Okay.
no,
It could be
and
silent.
that was the answer that was the answer that I will always stand by and stand 10 toes down on, that we don't have. We're not there yet. I was saying
Wow.
before that we can make it. We can make it. We can get there. But are we? No. Um,
Understood.
until we get down deep into the root of certain issues that we have, things that we don't want to
Mhm.
face, the more so controversial things, I think will still be in limbo. About this. So,
Mhm.
um, no, not yet. I mean, there are a few. There are some. I'm happy to see more people trying to find more positive influences. I do see people.
Exactly.
I'm not going to act like it doesn't exist, but generally, if you're asking me, no, no.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Kenneth Clark sent a message. He said, "Food hunger is an issue in child raising. Some have been neglected by the guardians, and not feeding the children that are supposed to take care of. CPS has been called on parents and guardians because of that. That
Mm,
is what I was trying to say as far as the conditions at home. You know, the conditions at home.
yeah.
There are
Yeah.
so many people that there is food, or there's lack of food, or some people are just straight neglectful.
right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
there's no ifs ands about it. You asked the question about, what can our, if I'm correct, please correct me. What can our community do? I agree with Trayvon on that. We have so many things that we had to fix in our community. We don't trust each other. The community has not, the Black community, the government hasn't, we haven't came for each other. I mean, we haven't been there, that's what I'm trying to say, for each other the way that we could be. So what are you supposed to do when you can't trust? You're not listened to, when they
Hmm.
don't care. There's people, it's a harsh reality. There's people that they don't care. As long as it's not them, they're eating. So to me, whatever we do, we had to figure it out and do it for ourselves. I
Very
just
true.
don't think that it's going to come from anybody else but us, and have us, look out for each other. Um, Make sure that the child next door is all right. Get back to what we used to do back in the days when we looked out for each other a little better than what we're doing. We're not
Hmm.
doing that. We're not doing
Exactly.
that. I have a phrase, and Trayvon heard me say it. You have people nowadays that will see you on the ground having a medical emergency and will step over
Hmm.
you to get to
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
wherever they're going and will not have no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's so much of a broader question. It's not really like an outline, answer to that. And I would have to think on that as well a little bit more.
But could you
Kenneth,
think?
Oh, yes.
Could you? Yeah, I
yeah,
was going to say, could you read that comment from Kenneth, though, if you don't mind?
absolutely. From Kenneth Clark. Hurt people that have been rehabilitated is why things like this happen. Okay, rehabilitation, counseling, and accountability is the only way to fix this. Yes, accountability individually, accountability for each other.
Well, I can actually give you guys one example.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
mentioned this to Professor, and I didn't know really whether I was
Yes.
going to bring it onto the stream or not.
It's
Uh-huh.
But I had
perfect.
an incident this
Mm-hmm.
morning. I told my aunt about it. I was on my way to the store to get whatever I need to get, but I was
Oh,
going
yeah.
to the the store to get some things, whatever, for myself. And I know I had passed by this lady named Miss Ella. So shout out to the lady that we all know as Miss Ella because she's like the
Uh-huh.
grandmother of the neighborhood. But
Yeah.
Great.
anyway, I stopped and spoke to her for a little bit, and I walked into the store, and I've only had enough time to get something to drink, and I walked to the register before someone came in asking if someone can call 911. So there was a situation where there was this older guy that had pulled up to speak to Miss Ella. I seen that, but I didn't stand around for the interaction. He had fell out. So when I came outside, he was laid across the ground. So some of those things that we're bringing up, like accountability, you know, standing up for someone else, defending someone else. I don't know where these two men came from, but apparently they were undercover and they were off duty or whatever. Not undercover, I'm sorry, off duty police officers or whatever. But
Okay.
what I didn't like is the accountability with seeing if this man is okay and asking him questions that were related to his medical conditions or whatever he's going through, as opposed
Uh-huh.
to trying to pinpoint a location of where he was and what, it just, the question seemed more like you were trying to incriminate this man versus get him a resource.
Oh,
The
wow.
Uh-huh.
ambulance were only
Wow.
on the way because I called them.
Oh,
So
wow.
Okay.
you spent all this time. He had, he's completely out. He fell out, doors open, car's not parked, keys still in the ignition in front of this
Uh-huh.
older
Wow.
lady that's wheelchair bound. And,
Wow.
you know, the last thing you guys were thinking were to call the ambulance. I said, well, if you guys, I would, assume you guys would be on some type of network or something because off duty or not, I'm pretty sure there's something on your phone. There's a quick number or
Yeah.
something you can dial. But you guys
Mm-hmm.
asked and drilled this man. And luckily there was another black man that had came up and seen what was going on. He had seen the man fall out. The man that came in and asked if someone could call 911. So the store owner came out and some other things, but just speaking on accountability and speaking up, that's something that actually happened today. When you were
Wow.
bringing it up, like, you bringing up some
Yeah.
key points, mommy, that was one of the
Uh-huh.
things that happened today that was like, you know, just eye opening for me as far as accountability, as far as people being able to stand in your place when you aren't able to fend for yourself and speak for yourself, type of
Uh-huh.
deal. So,
Exactly.
I don't really have too
Exactly.
much of a take on the question at hand like I would like because I think the question is a little too broad. I like a little bit more like, narrowed down questions or specific for
Uh-huh.
me to answer effectively. But
Uh-huh.
as far as contributing on an experience, something that's relative, something that happened, today.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, that's my take on something
Wow.
that happened,
Exactly.
today.
Wow.
We
Yeah.
kind of, Trayvon, we kind of lost the humanity part.
Yeah. I think that's my point. I think that's
Excuse me.
my like hurt behind it because um it was a lack of concern, and I've never had to call the ambulance for anyone before. Like it's never, but it's just the disregard
you know.
for this older guy. All these questions that you're trying to ask of him, he can barely respond, and it's just, I don't know, that was a little eye opening today. That was something that I felt like it was going to stick with me for a little bit. Not nothing negative, but just something that
Yeah.
I'll, so stand up for people is my point.
Absolutely.
I,
There was two people,
Advocate.
yeah, Two people
Yeah,
that I
We
and
have
knew
you were
to do
that
that.
walked
advocating.
past. Yeah, two
Hmm.
people that I knew that walked past, and I said, "Well, y'all standing across the way like y'all Channel 7 News, which I like to, come over here and figure out what's going on, or are you gonna
Uh-huh.
go,
Yeah.
are you gonna go walk to the store?"
Right.
So I don't know if
And
we're
that,
talking about
Wow.
accountability and all of that. It starts with being able to do something like that because people
yeah,
will
Exactly.
step
I
over
mean,
you. You know.
that,
Exactly.
and I mean that, and I say that in kind of in a joking way, but then I'm not joking. That it's like, oh, we got in this culture now. We have it's none of my business. I'm not
Yeah.
concerned with it because it ain't got nothing to do with me and mine. And I've even heard, even on social media sometimes that and seen that they rather film you and observe you like an animal at the zoo
Wow.
than to say, hey, ma'am, are you okay? it
Wow.
doesn't
Unfortunately.
it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't make any assumptions. You don't know if that person's having a medical emergency.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going on, and that's just the assumption about. I mean, I don't know what this person looks like, but
Right.
it's an assumption of something else or not wanting to get involved. So ultimately, I think what I'm saying and using what you said about what you observed today is that you got to be involved, but we need to get that humanity back. We care, a lot of us care less and less. It's not my problem. So
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
when you go to, for any issue that you have, and you say, look, you know what can the city do? What can my community do? What funding do they have? Where can you encourage them to allot funding to certain areas for certain things? You got to make sure that you are unified, and you got to make sure you know what you want, because a lot of
Hmm.
times don't let people fool you. State and everything fool you in certain areas. They got the money.
Yes, they do.
The money's there.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
excuse
Thank
me.
you for the comments,
I,
Kenny. I appreciate
I
that.
apologize for that. I'm going to
You're
It's
put
all
okay.
myself
right.
on
It's
mute.
all right. It's okay.
It's okay.
Oh,
It's
Not a
okay.
problem.
As long as you're okay.
Right. And as long as you can breathe, that's what matters first. If I stop
Exactly.
all this, if my mama
Exactly.
can't breathe,
Exactly.
all this will stop right here now so I can get
Yeah,
up the street.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so you know,
Yeah, we'll check with
even if
her.
you need to
Check
pull
on
out
her.
and get yourself some water, mama, it's all
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
oh, I'm sorry. It's just that the air quality sometimes gets you
Yeah,
unexpectedly.
Oh yeah.
yeah. Ear
With that.
allergens. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think we need to try to figure out where we went wrong or what we do to start um, being more unified. Where is the disconnect where we hate each other so much? Where is the
Hmm.
disconnect where what's going on where a lot of us are tired and angry about certain things? There's a deeper issue to
Yeah.
me. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying, Trayvon?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
different issue there why we stopped. Now, I don't want to say all of us. So let's clear that up.
Hmm.
Where some of us, and you and both of you probably know exactly what I mean, where other communities can have a sense of unity and partnership and
Hmm.
plan and everything. And for us, particularly African American community, we are a people, we are a group of brilliant contributors to society.
Yes,
Very
we
true.
A
are.
lot of the stuff that we have invented or that a lot of us use every day, every American, we had a very integral part in science, law, inventions, all of that stuff. So we're
Yes.
brilliant.
Yes, we are.
But where is this certain, you know, I'm trying to say it without keep it clean,
The
um,
emotional support.
that
Uh-huh.
where's the emotional
Yeah,
support?
yeah,
Because
the emotional
to
support.
me,
Mm-hmm.
we can't ask for anything from
Right.
Yeah.
anybody else until we get
Right.
our stuff straight.
Hmm.
Exactly.
And that's a hill I will die
Exactly.
on.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That behavior, that thinking, that
Yeah.
type of stuff. And sometimes entitlement,
Hmm.
you
Exactly.
know, or
Exactly.
something being somebody else's fault.
Right.
Hmm.
To, I hate it. I hate
Yeah.
it. I can't stand it because I know how smart, I know how brilliant we are.
And you see it. Yeah, you can see it in people.
Exactly.
It irritates
Exactly.
me, you know.
Hmm.
Exactly.
And for all of
Exactly.
us, humanity, start all of us inside the community, outside the community, start caring about each other.
Hmm.
Exactly. Simple.
Start caring
Mhm.
each other. Some people will
Mhm.
know. You speak of hunger, some people will know and see an emaciated child
Hmm.
and know something is going on and
Exactly.
will do nothing. But
Exactly.
be the first one on the news if someone told, well, I did see them.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Irritating. And I'm
Yeah.
trying not to go into, a
Yeah.
tangent right
Yeah.
now. Irritating. How many times have you tried to do something? How many times have you
Mhm.
tried to alert somebody for help? None.
Mhm. Yeah.
It ain't my business. We
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
get out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mindset.
I can't really fully address fixing a problem to some of these things until we go to figuring out what is going on
Right.
Exactly.
with us and what within us. And then I think we will be able to effectively answer and address some of these issues
Hmm.
for the
Exactly.
things that we need to other people. And
Very
dare
Exactly.
true.
I shall say some things that we do, some thinking that some of us have. You need when in Rome, you need to do as Romans do. You need to talk the talk and walk the walk
Exactly.
professionally
Exactly.
and seriously.
Accountability.
Take
Exactly.
Accountability.
Yeah.
accountability and clean it up. You
Hmm.
can't
Exactly.
go and ask for nothing with a
Exactly.
certain behavior, a certain tank, and a certain view. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Exactly.
Argue
And
with your
then they
mama.
won't be taunted. They won't be taunted by
That's my
society.
mama, y'all.
It's true. It's true.
Right. That's
It's
my
Ken,
mama,
true.
y'all.
Kenneth
Right.
Clark. I'll say this. I'll read this last one, and I really want to hear everyone else because I had my rant already. Kenneth Clark. Until we take responsibility, nobody else is responsible to heal our community.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm
Straight
talking
up,
about.
Kenneth.
That's what I'm
Thank
talking
you,
about.
Reverend
That's
Doctor.
what I want to
Straight
hear.
up.
It's
Straight
Yeah.
up.
us.
It's
I
the
think the
we
problem
us.
is
Mm-hmm.
really what I think the problem is. I think what the three of us are doing, or what I think is going on rather on this platform right now, is we're talking with our mindset. We're talking with the
Mm-hmm.
mindsets that we have. We're not talking with the mindsets of what we see going on.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about the
Mm-hmm.
mindsets of the people that are contributing to what we consider to be a problem for us. I think we're
Mm-hmm.
thinking with our mindsets as far as we know how we are with the, advocating for better, for change, for mental health, for growth, for, all that we're advocating for, because it's an
Yeah.
umbrella, it's an array of things. But I really feel like um, we are speaking. I mean, I would love to, be able to catch more opinions from people from different walks of life, to hear different
Yeah.
perspectives, because everybody didn't grow up the same. Though we all kind of grew up similar, we didn't grow up the same. But
Yeah.
I think that we talk more so and speak with our mindsets and how we
Mm-hmm.
would think versus like really hitting on what's going on like out here.
Yeah, but you got to say what the problem is. Be
Very
honest and
true.
transparent. If that's the thing right there. Not in a view of entitlement, like somebody owes you anything. What is the problem? What can we do? What do you need to make
Hmm.
your life better?
Right.
Straight out, what are the
Exactly.
issues?
Very
If
true.
you
Yeah.
don't have shoes, you know what I mean? Say you
Hmm.
don't have, say that.
Yeah.
What can
Exactly.
they do? Because I'll tell you one thing for sure. If
Hmm.
you say programs, professor, for certain things, there are a lot of programs that are in effect that we don't know about unless you ask or somebody tell you that it's in
Exactly.
existence.
And
Exactly.
that brings up
Been operating for years.
Yeah.
another thing too, though, that a lot of our people don't do no research.
Nope.
I can't say that it's for everybody. I mean, I think everybody, honestly, on these type of platforms, checking us out, and on Kenny's platform and different things like that, I feel like everybody should be aware and in tune enough for us to not have to clear the air and say it's not everyone. But I guess we're in the media, so we do have to have our
Oh
disclaimers and
yeah.
say certain things
Yeah.
to clear the air,
Yeah.
but we shouldn't, as adults, have to say, "Oh, it's not everyone," because if you're offended, then you're a part of it. Is my opinion. Like
Mhm.
if you're
I,
easily,
I agree.
you know, at the same time. So I'm all for what we're doing, but Um, I want to tell whoever is watching the truth. You know, even if it
Okay.
repels you for the moment, it might be a seed that's dropped that just might stay and blossom into something later on
Mm-hmm.
and later on in time. But telling the
Exactly.
truth, telling the truth,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
Yeah.
we can't help each other if
Yeah.
Whatever.
we all
And
enemies.
it's the mindset. And thank you, Kenneth. Thank you so much again.
Yeah.
You know, rehabbing
Thank you.
and accountability, rehabbing and having these conversations. You know, again, there's so many different programs in our community. Again, that we know of and that we don't know of. At the same time, every individual has to learn how probably have to unthink some stuff. That's
Hmm.
the bottom line with our culture. Unthink, unlearn, and just unfollow some stuff in
Mm-hmm.
their
Very
lives
true.
and get a fresh perspective. And also, one of the most important things is to treat each day like it's a new day. Treat each day
Absolutely.
like it's a new day. Treat each situation like it's different from any other. And I believe just making simple efforts like that, just making an effort in the most simplistic way, that people will come together and grow and develop on how to help each other. Because it's like every society, you know, every 5, 10 years, society norms change, people's behavior changes, but at the same time, we have to consider what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. Certain things should be considered unacceptable, such as hunger. Hunger should be considered unacceptable, and learning how to help should be considered something that's a part of life. Some people don't even know what it means to help anybody.
Hmm.
Some people don't know what it means to help anybody. They are living as an island alone. They're just living like a one person show or just on the island like they're by themselves. Now even if you were stranded on the island, you're gonna need somebody to help get you up out of there.
Right.
And while somebody is coming to rescue you, you got to make do with the resources around, because you got to be able to feed yourself, you got to be able to clothe yourself, you have to be able to sustain on that island.
Hmm.
And if there's nobody else within 50 or thousands of miles from you, you've got to work with your environment. At the same time, when you're talking about working with people, we have to
Hmm.
learn and embrace each other. And I noticed that this society does, in our culture, we do not embrace each other just for the sake of love, just for the sake of, you know, working together on something that's good for us as a human being. So
Hmm.
you know, we do have to find a way to be human again, as Opulent once said. You know, we are still human. We are phenomenally made. We are creatively made, and when all those creative things come together, those creative juices start running together, it makes for a greater community. Now, the capacity to come together, that's a whole nother story. That's
Hmm.
a whole nother chapter. But we do have the capacity if we take simple things like having conversations like what's going on in the community, even simple things like child hunger, teenage violence, dating, because we're talking about accountability and support services for children who experience hunger, teenage dating, the variables as to the violence that teenagers experience because they're being intimidated. Hunger is used. Hunger, the people in their family, the people they're living with, the person they're dating is manipulating them and withholding food. How do we know food is being withheld? By certain looks, certain behaviors of that teenager. Maybe that teenager has confided in friends. How do they confide in people in the community? By being able to open avenues of trust. So we do have to get to a point. If we haven't gotten back to a point of trust, then that's finished. That bridge is burnt. We got to get to a new point of trust because we have new different types of behavior that's so
Hmm.
acceptable. So now we got to learn how to just say, listen, Honey Boo Boo's behavior is not acceptable. Y'all remember Honey Boo Boo? I'm going to give you an example.
Hmm.
Remember Honey Boo Boo?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
America watched a child being neglected. America
Mhm.
watched a child being neglected as a television series. Honey Boo Boo, I watched it and I was like, wow, are we watching? I'm like, who's the authorities? Where are the authorities? Because I watched this child take a mop and she mopped the kitchen counters. What was she, like 7? Maybe like
Mhm.
she was
Mhm.
like 7, 6, 7 years old. She took the mop and she mopped the kitchen counters, cleaned all the kitchen counters, took that same mop and mopped the floors with it.
No, I
And her
don't. I
mother
don't.
was
Mm-mm.
nowhere
Mhm.
around. Her mother wasn't in her presence, like monitoring her. There was nobody monitoring her. And then she took that same mop and she dipped it in the bathroom toilet to clean the bathroom floors. I mean, she's thinking like a child. That's what a child would do, because they're not thinking
Mhm.
in terms of in terms of structuring mopping, such as, steps for mopping, get a bucket of water and stuff like that. She wasn't thinking like that. She was like, she was using whatever water sources and whatever she saw that she felt needed to
Mm.
be clean.
Yuck.
So I'm saying
Yuck.
that, wow, here, and I was like, wow. When I thought of it, I said, who are the authorities? Because that's neglect. That's going into abuse. Suppose she hurts herself with chemicals or something like that. And I believe I wrote to the producer, and I asked them, like, how could you guys let this go on? Where viewers are viewing an open case of neglect. Where are the authorities on that? And they never wrote back to me. And I stopped watching it
Mhm. Mhm.
because it made my skin crawl to think
Mhm.
that people could make money off of that, and at the same time not address the child's, because that's attached to the child's mental well-being,
Well, I'm
the
glad
child's
that you made
mental
this step.
wellness.
I'm glad that you made the
Mhm.
step of leaving it alone, as you know, and not subscribing or watching or whatever, because the last
Exactly.
thing I want anybody to do is be entertained by something that they say is not, you know. So I'm glad that you were one of those people who took that step and stopped watching it, because let's stop supporting and tuning in to stuff like that that we know is not for us or our children or just good for
Exactly.
our family environments, period. Stop subscribing to it. You have the power to turn
Exactly.
off the TV, you have the power to turn off the radio. You can't
Mhm.
stop your child from looking at every single thing, but you have the power to stop your child from doing a lot. Are you close
Exactly.
enough to your child? Are you around your child enough to do so? That might be one thing, but parents have a
Mhm.
lot more power. Like one thing I can't stand is people saying something about celebrities and oh, you know, Cardi B has this type of music, or Cardi B doesn't allow her child or children to listen to her music. Okay, well she's doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
These
As a
celebrities
parent.
are not your they should not be your children's idols. You should not be allowing these people to be uh in the forefront of your children's minds as someone to idolize. We have more control. I just don't see people doing enough to block those things, because they're like usually you know, that's usually appealing.
Yeah.
That's usually
Yeah.
entertainment. People are usually
Yeah.
pulled in by those
Yeah.
things and then try to pull away from it when it's necessary. And
Well,
I don't think
I
that's
so.
think
accountability. That's where
I
accountability and
yeah.
these issues come in, because now when you're talking about, not even, subscribing to these things, because now we're talking about the long-term effects, the long-term impacts on the child's physical and mental health, the vulnerability, exploitation, because some of the music is, well, we're talking about what adults listen to compared to what children should be listened to. And again, accountability and acceptability, those two words, accountability and acceptability, I believe is if they become a part of our conversations among our community, and what's acceptable and what's unacceptable, and also identifying the negative outcomes and reducing, it will reduce the risk of hunger. Now we're talking about reducing the risks of hunger. It's there. Yep, it's there. It's
Mhm.
big in our face there. But now we want to talk about, we want to just bring awareness to how to reduce it and make a stronger community, and involvement of parents. Because yeah, parents and parenting is so different. That's another thing. Parenting affects child hunger.
Hmm.
Parenting, and the child's, not just the child's environment, the parents of the child, the caregivers, whoever they are, even some of the extended family members, does affect the child's um, ability to thrive. So collaborating, yeah, child issue. This is a pressing and global issue. We can start small and then what? Go big. I'm just saying,
I
we
think we
starting
should.
small and go big.
I feel like we can do that by only taking the. I don't know, for some reason the words only taking what you need comes to mind. Um, when my mom said something about resources, well, both of you, we all kind of talked about different, things that can help us get out of some of these situations, but people abusing the resources that are given to them, taking those and accepting those resources. And I'm talking about our people. That's the main focus. Whoever this lands with, whoever watches this, that's cool.
Exactly.
But the
Yeah.
focus is, our people. And I think that taking on, accepting resources that you don't really need, taking away from somebody who can be getting or taking advantage of those resources in a positive light is the problem. We abuse what little we do have. We overconsume, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I think we need to override. I think we need to go and work past the fact that um, we know that we don't have to do anything for the next person. But I feel like if we, band together and find like-minded people that can override and go past the fact that we know we don't have to do anything, because everyone knows that. Whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're brown, you don't have to walk around. You don't have to have anyone. You can let anyone fall to the wayside, but will you do that is the question. So I think we need to let's push a little harder. We
Yeah.
push a lot
Yeah.
harder, really. Let's
We
push a lot
can.
harder
We can.
than
We
what we're
can.
doing.
We can. I think we could get some help to push. You know what I mean? I think we can get help to push a little harder because it's difficult
Like-minded people.
to push hard. Yeah, it's difficult to push hard without support. So I think we
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
can, I think that can happen. I really believe that can happen. And it will no longer be taunted by outsiders, meaning people who are not outside of the box. People don't think outside the box in terms of of not just how we're thinking, but in terms of making an effort to push harder. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, yes,
50,
absolutely, Kenneth.
50 is doing a wave
Addressing
of addressing
toxic.
toxic.
You could read it,
Of the
Trayvon.
Let me see. He said D. I'm sorry. I'm having a little trouble understanding the comment. I might need you to type it again, Kenny. But he says D1
Yeah.
is doing a wave of addressing toxic something of the degrading. He called out Meek Mills, which is a rapper. It's on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So
Okay.
D1, I forgot who D1 is. It's somebody else that's on YouTube. He's talking YouTube jargon that you guys
Okay.
might not
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
a
so.
lot of
I
these
thought
people
so.
on these different platforms are calling out artists. So whether it be like Club Shay Shay or the Breakfast Club or like some of these platforms are starting to call out these artists for what they're doing. So when we're talking about children and what's going on with them, for instance, one of these rappers called his name is Future, admitted
Okay.
recently in an interview
Yeah.
that he doesn't do any of the drugs or anything that he talks about, and he's facilitating to these people. So the false
Wow.
narrative of giving these kids something that they think they need to idolize or think something that they think is worth idolizing, and you don't even live the lifestyle that you're portraying. So, but that's when I go back to the parents,
Understood.
you know. That's why I go back to the parents, because you have the control to
Uh-huh.
stop your child from listening in the future. You have the control
Exactly.
to stop your
Exactly.
kids from
Well,
watching such and such.
can I say this,
Exactly.
y'all, please? You do have control. This is how I always thought. You have control of what you allow your children to listen to in your home and in your presence. But I think two things that are happening, and I can always say that, you know, use myself as an example. There were things that you were not allowed, from your mom or saying no or your family. But trust me, how does a child process that when they can go to their friend's house and those rules are not in place?
Yeah,
So
Right.
not only telling a child don't do this or don't listen to this because it's not appropriate. I think that what we fail to do is let them know why with real world examples. Why is this not
right.
appropriate? what
Right.
could this possibly be saying? It's kind of like telling somebody, don't, let's say, um, don't go outside, scarcely, what I mean, half dressed.
Hmm.
You know, what that could possibly mean. You can
Right.
say, I'm gonna put my foot down. Don't go out there with those clothes on like that. But do people really say, look, somebody's gonna think something differently of you that's not true? You're
Exactly.
exposing yourself when you don't need to expose yourself. People are
Hmm.
going to, do this. You want to be a lady when you go out. You see what I'm saying? I mean, and
Yeah,
the list
Very
fear the
goes
true.
on and on and
consequences.
on.
Yeah,
What are the
yeah,
without that, we have a bad habit of saying, do as I say, not as I do, or don't do it because told you not to. But when you can associate that thing with the why, sometimes they can hear that why and be like, oh, I'm not going to do that.
Exactly.
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
Exactly.
scary. That's
Yeah,
scary.
Exactly.
yeah.
You know, so if you know that, hey, and being real and being honest, Trayvon, I was always honest with you.
Hmm. Very true.
Hey, you do this, you're gonna be this way, or
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
might fall into
Mm-hmm.
this, or this
Yeah.
Right.
is what that looks like. Because
Yeah.
Exactly.
they need to see a picture. We sugarcoat way too
Right.
Exactly.
much
Yeah.
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 because maybe we're not ready to say the real. I mean, and of course, you don't say it a certain thing and be keep it
Harshly
real
or out
with
of
the
yeah.
harshly with a 20-year old versus what you would do with the
A
a 10-year
10-year
old.
old. Yeah.
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 But you gotta
Exactly.
say it. These kids can tell you some stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't say it. You gotta say, hey, look, don't go there over there. This is
Yeah.
what's going
Right.
on. And
Exactly.
I mean, it may sound bad, but and sometimes you gotta say it raw in the fact.
Exactly.
This is what they doing around there.
Exactly.
Exactly.
This
Yeah.
might happen, and that will happen, and this will happen. And he's like, if you do this, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
you know what jail's
Yeah.
like?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's what
Yeah.
stirred me from stuff. I was so scared
Exactly.
Exactly.
of,
I
Right.
wanted to
Well, what
experiencing
what
that.
are they scared?
Oh yeah,
What are the children afraid of? Well, big ups
I
to
don't
the
know.
artists who
Yeah,
who are keeping it real, who are actually telling the truth about the business.
exactly.
That's big up, and they need to do it across the board in the sports world, everywhere across the board. The kids really need to know the truth so they can really come to the reality and handle life better. You
Exactly.
yeah.
know, yeah, I got to give him big ups to that. Big ups.
One thing I wanted to do as far as clarity, I wanted to clarify on a comment I was trying to read. So anybody who is in the stream, you can see that we did we did ultimately
Mm,
correct it. But Kenneth was saying D1, which is the person I was trying to understand what he meant. D1 is
uh-huh.
their name. He said as a music professor at Harvard. He's an African American brother that has been demanding the rap culture to change for the greater good. So instead of the
Yeah.
the false narrative, instead of that negative imagery, that certain lifestyle is being projected. D1 is out there preaching the word and advocating for change as far as what these young black, brown sisters, brothers, mothers, children, overall are consuming. You know,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, big
exactly,
up to him. Big up to Professor. I'm telling you, another advocate crying out in the wilderness of mental health support. But that's okay because a lot of good things is happening in the wilderness.
exactly.
Change is happening. So this is why we are here, collaborating and doing it together. Policy change, making sure that these things have a long-term effect, combating hunger, combating the first thing, the mind, combating the
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
mindset. That's the first and foremost thing. And then we can get to the hunger aspect and more.
mm-hmm.
We love you like no other as God does, and we thank you all for watching. Those who are passing through tonight, please shed more on this on tonight's discussion. The luxury of hunger. You know,
Mm.
that right there, that part, the luxury of hunger. Think about that
Mm-hmm.
part. It's really not a luxury. Hunger is not a luxury. It's just how it's formatted. How
Mm-hmm.
things are formatted. Now here we are across the media. They're saying they're advocating for people to tell the truth. What's really going
Exactly.
on? And
Exactly.
explain. I believe our kids do better when they get an explanation. They can't say they didn't get the explanation for them to make a better decision. And then they're going to need other stuff to help them to meet those consequences, because there's consequences for everything, bad or good. There's consequences for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming back at you. And at the pit stop, Trey, you want to tell them about the pit stop?
Yeah, sure. As y'all know that passed by here, or maybe passed by for the first time, those that aren't already keeping up with us, the pit stop is just a quick interaction. I encourage people to stop by for 2 or 3 minutes if you feel like you want to stay longer. That's completely up to you. There's no pressure behind it. It's same theme as a pit stop. When you watch you see a NASCAR show, you see a car pull into a pit stop real quick. The interaction is quick, so they stop, they get what they need, and then they go. So that's all we really ask of everyone. One thing that I must attach to the end, well, that's the pit stop, 7:30 to 8. But one thing I must attach to the end is a disclaimer, of course. We always give a disclaimer at the beginning, kind of in the middle and the end, just to let you guys know, hey, we're not medical advisors. We are not trying to tell you or suggest or even cut off resources or steer you in the wrong direction. So on our end, I'm going to read that, the JCI friendly disclaimer. The information in this video is not intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content is to be considered as such. We are here to be only advocates for you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And keep advocating with us. Keep advocating for good mental health and good mental health support like no other. This is 2024. A lot of strange stuff is happening. So many issues attached to the issues itself. It's okay. We can get to it, get through it, and get with it one thing at a time, but collectively. Collective is power. Power is collective. Right? Peace, love, and joy, family. Love you, JTI. Love you, Kenneth.
Right.
Love you too.
Shout out to our big sister. Shout out to Auntie. Shout out to everybody who is advocating for good mental health. And we hope that you have a best of the best week to come.
Exactly. And one thing I wanted to say real quick is just stand up. Be better. Be more. You don't have to do just what you think is enough. Do a little bit more next time. Whatever it is that you consider, whatever you think about, stand up and do it because you know it's right. Do it because you know it feels good. And even if you aren't in a position where it actually feels good to do it, try to do it anyway. Try to do it and hope that feeling comes so you can feel proud of the moves you make for someone else, because there's someone out there that needs some of those resources that you possibly can give. So just try to think a little better. Try to get yourself outside of the box. That's all I wanted to say. We can do better. We will do better. We can do better. So that's all I wanted to say, everybody. But thank y'all. It was a good show. I appreciate that, everybody.
It was a great show.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Great
Thank
show.
you.
All right, now, family, in a while.
All right, y'all. In a while.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mommy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Timbo.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, y'all. Y'all know how we do. Good night.